Four ordinary guys with extraordinary ideas for Disney parks. This is Main Street Musings,
the experimental podcast of tomorrow.
Hello, and welcome back to Main Street Musings, the experimental podcast of tomorrow. My name is Eric, and with me today we have the wet socks that bother you for the rest of your trip, Jake.
Hey there, hi there, ho there.
We have splashing your friends when the crew explicitly told you not to, Brock.
Hey, no one said it to me specifically.
And we have the exciting drop at the end where you make a funny pose for the camera, Tanner.
Gotta have some fun when you're dropping low. Take that from my life.
These intros just get sloppier each time, and I like it more.
Yeah.
If you have not caught on, today's episode is all about the log flume. Ooh. The log flume is a slow-moving water ride, usually one vertical line of people. You go through like a themed experience, generally up some kind of ramp, and there's a drop involved, I think, with every log flume, right? I think that's something that we can all agree on. Examples of this would be like a Pirates of the Caribbean, or the probably prime example would be Splash Mountain.
Yes.
Cool. So we are bringing ideas and themes for log flume experiences today. We're very excited. Anything you guys want to add before we jump into the pitch section?
I'm good to go.
Yeah, I think that was pretty concise. I think we can jump right in.
It's the part where we make a pitch.
Today we have going first, Brock.
All right, friends and neighbors. So I'm pitching a log flume that's more of a log flume coaster. Now, this is a sort of hybrid that does exist. It just it's a faster log flume. It allows for a lot more up and down, twisty kind of movement while still keeping with a lot of the general principles. My log flume is going to be based around the Emperor's New Groove. Now, in the film, you see a lot of that sort of the waterfalls flowing through the Golden City, the palace, all that sort of great imagery. A couple different times during the film, our heroes find themselves heading down waterfalls, down slides of water. So that's definitely an idea that's kind of baked into the movie itself. So this ride takes place a couple years after the events of the movie, when Cusco has finally decided to build Cuscotopia. Now, this is a concept we talked about a little bit before, but we had these ideas separately. So in my idea, Cuscotopia is, as he mentioned in the film, going to be a water park. So this is during the building of Cuscotopia. This is going to be the first ride, and we are part of a tour group that has come as kind of the first wave of guests to experience the new ride while Cuscotopia is being built. And it's all about Cusco bragging about how smart he is and how brilliant this place is. And you see some of the characters from the ride. Unfortunately, as we start down this ride, Yzma reappears in her cat form, come to take revenge on Cusco. She pulls a lever, we go off in the wrong direction, and everything goes wrong.
Did anybody else think that Brock's pitch sounded suspiciously like the plot of the first Jurassic Park movie?
I just don't know why everybody's trying to steal my vote by keeping on pitching my favorite Disney movie of all time.
I was going to say, Brock, how dare you again bring an Emperor's New Groove pitch to this podcast and make Eric listen to it again and relive the trauma of people being like, hey, Eric, I think you might like this movie.
And then bullying him when he doesn't.
Yeah.
Eric truly is the victim in all this.
They used to dress him up as Cusco and parade him around town saying, look, it's an Emperor's New Groove fan. It was humiliating. The only person more traumatized than Eric by Emperor's New Groove is Sting.
Yes. I think you're right about that.
That's a deep cut, Tanner.
That is a deep reference, but I love it.
If you
That's
know, you know.
reaching true Disney nerddom.
Alrighty, folks. Looks like I am next
All right.
in the pitch order. So for my log flume, we are going back to one of my personal favorite Pixar movies, one that I feel like does not get discussed nearly enough in the pantheon of upper tier Pixar films, A Bug's Life. And we are going to do a log flume through P.T. Flea's Circus.
Oh, cool.
And as we go through along and see like circus animatronics around us, and we have all the characters from the film interacting and giving us quippy lines and stuff, and then the grasshoppers descend and physically like the idea would be to unpack like picking up the log, like the ride that we're on, which would be shaped like a leaf. And so they're picking up the leaf and dragging us up the chains to get to the drop where we'd be freed and caught by like a circus, like them holding out like a sheet is what you would see as you're falling down to catch us as we enter the ride.
Yeah.
And it like breaks for a little bit, and then we plunge through the sheet into the water, and Flick leads us home.
Ah, nice.
That's really neat.
That is my log flume.
Nice.
I like it.
Bug's Life is, obviously has had some representation. I feel like the 4D show it's either been removed or it's time for it to go.
It's still there, but with hardly any line ever. It's tough to be a bug, of course. It's still in Animal Kingdom.
In DCA, there was, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there like an entire section of Bug's Life related stuff?
There was a Bug's Land that they just recently got rid of to make way for Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
But it was all like little kid rides.
Yeah, and then this weird show that like the main hook is that they like shot stuff out that smelled bad and you could feel the bugs on your butt and stuff like that. Really uncomfortable seating. Like really wildly uncomfortable.
You mean feeling things on your butt is uncomfortable when you're trying to enjoy a show?
Bro, don't tempt me with a good time. Alrighty. Next up we got Jake.
That's me. So my pitch is there is an existing attraction, a beloved attraction by many, but it doesn't get enough love, which is Country Bear Jamboree. And I love Country Bear Jamboree, but it's dying. Nobody really goes anymore. They don't really upkeep it anymore. It's getting old. And a lot of the newer generation finds it boring. It's not exciting enough for them, which is sad, but it is what it is.
And they're wrong.
Right. I think that Country Bear Jamboree perfectly fits the aesthetic of how I picture a log flume, like the country backwoods kind of a feel. That's how I picture log flume. So I thought, why not put the two together? Let's have a Country Bear Jamboree log flume. So you still have the songs and the puns and the animatronic bears and all the fun stuff that goes with that, but you're on this log. And maybe the story is that you're journeying out to find the bears in the wilderness. Instead of the bears have come to the humans and set up a theater, we as the humans are going to go find the bears. And it's the journey of going to find the Country Bear Jamboree, and we encounter all this fun, crazy stuff on the way there while riding in our log.
So it's like Deliverance, but with the country bears?
Oh, exactly. 100%.
That is a really bad take.
Hey, I'm just saying, Liver Lips McGraw has got a pretty mouth.
Would I watch a Deliverance featuring the Country Bears? 1,000% yes. But I don't think.
As someone who loves the Country Bears and holds it very close to his heart, I would ask that we cut that joke.
Well, you made it, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
So that is my pitch.
I like it. I think that's fun. I love the Country Bears too. There's just something so pure about it, and I think a log flume's a really good place for that kind of thing. What do you got for us, Tanner?
All right, so my pitch is going to involve a film that will have you apologizing to your parents for growing up too fast. Of course, I'm talking about 1995's A Goofy Movie. So my pitch is going to be a ride down the rapids following Max and Goofy through the crazy fishing trip scene where they're riding on the top of their car through all of the stuff and the waterfall comes. So following that, as they're trying to navigate the river with animatronics of them, and the big drop, of course, will be the scene where they land on the giant waterfall and shoot down. Of course,
Nice.
they end up parachuting, and my ride would end in a way where we'll figure this out exactly how, if this is what we pick, of getting to Powerline's concert to
yes.
see them, to witness Powerline, of course, singing Eye to Eye. So that's my idea for my ride, would be that rafting journey down through the end of the film where they end up getting to the concert.
Nice.
We'll get to this later, but the only way I'm voting that is if we can stop and watch the entire performance of Eye to Eye, like all 3.5 minutes of its glory.
Oh, no, I think the last section of this ride is literally where the logs normally would back up and you'd be angry. Is literally just Powerline's Eye to Eye concert, and nobody cares that they're waiting in this line any longer, because why would you? It's magnificent.
It's the part where we do Q&A.
All right, so who's got questions?
Yeah, I've got a question for Jake.
Yes.
So, the plot of the ride, we're going to find the country bears and obviously see them perform. But what about that that concept provides the twists and turns and the big drops that you expect in a log flume? What happens when the story of the ride to create the physical movement of the ride?
Oh, to me, I was thinking we're literally, the best way to get into the woods where the bears are is you have to raft down this river, and it's just it's a treacherous river. That's all I was thinking. Nothing more than the river. I wasn't getting into any symbology bullshit, Mr. Prestigious Theater.
I'm not saying that.
Wannabe major.
I'm not saying
Fucking river.
that.
You sit in a boat and you float. What the fuck do you want?
I'm just saying if...
See, Brock does not understand the mise-en-scène of what you're trying to talk about right now.
Okay, well, I was wondering if there's a story other than we're on this river to see the bears and they're singing at us.
That is what's happening.
What is that story?
What more do you want?
Well,
Do you want like one of the bears to be having an affair? Like, is this not dramatic enough for you?
You guys,
the
this is
Sunbonnet
important.
Trino are involved in court politics.
So Liver Lips McGraw is stealing Big Al's wife, and they're having an affair. And also, the Sunbonnet Trio was their children, so they're coping with this whole like family being in turmoil. Brock, does that make you happy with the ride?
Clearly,
now?
this is the ride that Brock
You're the
wanted.
one who said this was going to be Deliverance, and you're asking about
what the
story
hell?
it is. Like, it's Deliverance, but it's a log flume with the country bears.
In my head, I didn't clarify this, but I had kind of pictured maybe they're acting out some of the songs that they're singing. That doesn't necessarily add to our part of the story. You know, like the bears are singing all the guys that turn me on, turn me down. During that segment, there's like the slideshow that's playing. Well, maybe instead of a slideshow, we're actually seeing the animatronics of that story or something like that. So did that answer your question?
Yep.
You shithead.
Are there any more questions?
So, Eric, about this Bugs Life ride. So, would it be like in the like city circus show that we see at the beginning of the film? Because I think it'd be kind of cool to have a log flume ride. I think we normally associate with like country style stuff. So, incorporating some of that mix of obviously Bug City would be really fun and a unique flavor of a log ride.
I think in my head it's definitely urban in its setting, right? So like where they've set up a circus sort of wherever, and it's, you know, the rain, like we're following down like even the size of like a water that like a raindrops created down a sidewalk, right? I know it's ants that they take over the trash can city, right? That's not Disney.
Yeah, that's...
But obviously there are aesthetic similarities between the Bugs Life and Ants, and incorporating some of that urban feel to it, so that like, yes, you're on a leaf, but you're looking around and like these towering buildings are part of like the aesthetic as you're looking above you, I think is something that I would want. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, well, and I was thinking at the when you see that in the movie when they're in the Bug City, it's next to the trailer. It can be kind of next to a house, and maybe it's water from like a downspout or a hose, and then you kind of get that idea of the large human existence above us with the urban, quote unquote, urban sprawl of the insects down below, and that way you can also get that fun effect where it's, oh my gosh, it's a giant shoe or a giant beer can or something.
And I think well, something like the shoe idea I think is super cool because you can include like animatronics of like the shoe like tipping over and falling and almost hitting you and like creating like mini drops in between there and stuff too, right? So it's not just the one drop experience. Using it's definitely the idea would be like the environment is fluid enough that there are like mini drops and stuff that before the last sequence.
I think
which is something
really
that I think like your Splash Mountain really uses well, and I'd like to incorporate that idea of multiple drops also for the psychological horror aspect of it, where it's just tormenting people who are afraid of the drop to keep thinking they've experienced it.
So
awesome.
Does anyone have any questions for me or Brock, or or should we just go fuck ourselves?
I want the Leaning Tower of Cheesa in the Goofy movie, right? That's my question. I want it.
Yes.
Can we have it?
My question for Tanner is, Tanner, we're following Max and Goofy. They're on top of their submerged car, correct?
Yes.
So what are we riding in?
Oh, I think our ride vehicle is going to look the same as those. It might be different colors, but I love the idea of like the log that you're in looks like a submerged car that you're sitting on the roof of.
So you're sitting on the top of a car? That's cool.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Neat.
Speaking of, I don't know if you mentioned this, Brock, but what is your ride vehicle?
Okay, so the ride vehicle, I hadn't actually thought about the vehicle itself. What I was thinking about mostly was the building. And so I think the design aesthetic, you see in the film, there's that Incan architecture, that giant palace that's like shaped like a face, and that's where a lot of the log flume-esque sequences in the film take place around, going through and in and out of that sort of thing. So I thought it would be cool if Kuzugotopia was kind of shaped in that way. That being said, I haven't really considered the vehicle.
I was kind of picturing maybe a log-like vehicle, but maybe it fits more with like the aesthetic of the temples and everything, like with the way it's carved with like right angles and, you know, like almost like that swirly kind of a pattern. That is familiar with the rest of the movie. Maybe it's a gold-colored.
I know it's not really the aesthetic. This is much more of like a Norwegian boat thing, but like maybe like a boat with like a Cusco as like where you like face at the end at the front of it.
Oh, like as the masthead?
Like, I think that's great.
Masthead.
That's great because you could still carve it in the style of Incan art, but just with that idea of a masthead. That's hilarious.
Face, and he would totally do that.
Okay. I think all of those would work very well. Any other questions?
I don't think so.
No?
I am ready to vote.
It's the part where we vote.
Tanner, let's kick it off.
All right. I am going to be voting for the Bug's Life ride. I think that's really fun. I enjoy that movie a lot. I think it's a unique way to incorporate a log flume that I wouldn't have thought of before, so I'm excited to talk about it more.
Cool. I'll go next. I'm gonna go with the Country Bears.
But what's the story?
That's something that I would like to talk about, actually. When I think of log flumes, I think of like timelessness, right? And there's in Serenity, jolted eventually, and we'll talk about the jolt if we get there. But there is something very serene and timeless about the Country Bears that I think is cool. And something about the music. Maybe it's because I grew up on Splash Mountain and the music is closer to that kind of feel.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of log flumes, and so I'd like to talk about that. Jakey.
Ooh, man, I really liked all of the ideas. Oh, and I'm torn because I really want to see more of all of those things in the park. We need a better Bugs Life thing. We need to see Goofy movie in the park. We definitely need Emperor's New Groove in the park. Oh man, I think I'm gonna have to vote for the for the Goofy movie ride. I think that would be fun to see more of that in the park. More Goofy oriented stuff.
All right.
Yes.
No pressure, Brock.
Yeah, I'm in the coveted final vote with no votes spot.
It happens a lot, though, and it really sucks.
Yeah.
It's happened to me at least once. I think it's happened to Eric at least once. Tanner, have you gotten it yet?
I don't remember.
It's happened to me twice.
Twice? Oh, boy.
Yeah.
It's the kingmaker position where he gets to decide who runs the podcast for the rest of the day.
So here's the thing. I'm actually torn, and I was hoping that by now it would be clearer for me. I'm very torn between Bugs Life and Country Bears because I love Country Bears so much.
All right, cool. Thank you, Brock. Go yourself. I'm glad I didn't vote for you.
Yeah, thank you. That being said, I wish that one of them had a bit more, what's the word? Story. So I'm going to vote for the Bugs Life log flume. To honestly give my actual real answer is I really do want to talk about Country Bears, but it's been a while since I've seen it, and so I have less going on in my brain about what to talk about Country Bears, and I just really have been the idea of the small world that we're residing in the Bugs Life has really, I think is really interesting and has a lot we can talk about.
Yeah, that is cool.
That's my truthful answer. I was just trying to give you a hard time.
That's nice. I'll take the W for real or out of spite. Doesn't matter to me. All right, so for this ride, I'm thinking, so one of the ideas that I had for the entrance, it's either like a circus tent or something like that to indicate that we're entering into PT Flea's circus, or we've talked about like the urban feel. Maybe we're entering the house. I don't know. But something that I had in mind was that the queue line kind of goes down, and we're moving down further, and the each room that we're in, the scenery gets a little bigger, so we're giving the illusion of us becoming smaller without being heavy-handed about any technology that's doing it, but we are giving some sense that we're entering into the world of the insects without having to be like, we're in a shrinking machine kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we get down, the Leaf is our ride vehicle, and we enter in. One of the things that I want to talk about is cool ways to incorporate newer technology. One of the things that log flumes, I think, suffer with nowadays is the fact that a lot of the animatronics feel antiquated and kind of slow and bulky and robot movie. So, like, when I think of like a ladybug or like a circus, I think of a lot of like rolls and circular movement, and that we can incorporate with like things jumping over the Leaf as we're going around, and like acrobats or flying insects flying above us or dangling above us as we're going through. So what are you guys' thoughts on that kind of thing, how we could incorporate that?
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And I mean, luckily with bugs, it's kind of fewer moving parts for a lot of them with animatronics, and they've done some really incredible animatronics and stunt animatronics that I think you can get some bugs doing some really fun, incredible stuff as they go around. I think that's great. I guess my question is, and I know this might be preempting something you're about to say, but I'm still a little confused as to why we're in a boat at the circus.
That's so. I guess the story of that would be one of two things that we could decide on. One is this is a tour of the circus, and it just so happens that either like the water from the hose of the house they've built like the circus around it, so we're touring it and seeing what it is, or this is a very specific sub event of the circus that involves like traveling through it. Like we're going to see like the acrobatic ladybugs or something, for example, and the way that they put on their show is having you travel through it. Would be the two things that come to mind for me. If something has something better, then I'm all ears.
No, I think that's awesome.
Which one?
Both of them, frankly. Sorry.
I think that the first one is a little bit clearer for story purposes of a ride. Of like, we're going through the tour with the water. I think that's a little bit easier of a story to tell through theming of everything.
I have to agree with that.
A special circus event. It's easier for like your average like theme park going dad who's not super paying attention on the during the line is like, okay, yeah, no, we're at a circus. I get this.
Yeah, and it gives us room for a couple of things. It gives us room for a tour guide like a PT Flea or a Flick to lead us through, and it gives us room for a lot of different variety of acts to see. And I think that's what will make this ride special is the variety of insect-based circus acts that you can interact with.
One thing I think is very important that we get in the ride, whether it be on the ride or in the queue, is everyone's favorite part of It's Tough to Be a Bug is obviously the large dung ball that you can wait. So I think we need a couple of those around just to remind people of where we came from and where we're going.
Yeah, I mean, we could even be riding a dung beetle instead of a leaf. That's totally fine.
I am, of course, joking because looking back at photos, I was like, why is there a giant dung ball here?
Yeah.
That's it. I think it's pretty. I think it's part of the park beautification efforts. So I guess one of the issues that we could solve early on is, and I think it works with the queue line and the setting, is where in the human world is this located? Now, I think I'd like to pitch something. Tell me if it's too dumb or if it's a hat on a hat. But what if we are going into a circus tent and it's a circus, but then perhaps there's a video or something where we kind of see a pan down effect so we know exactly where in the circus the bugs are located. I don't know when that would be.
Yeah.
I still like the cue of everything getting bigger. But that way it's kind of like the humans are having their circus and the bugs are having theirs. So we kind of get that double effect.
I think that's...
Yeah, that could be cool.
I think that's very clean, too. Because if you're just, like, walking into a house, that doesn't make a ton of sense. So... I think that's very well aesthetically unified and gives us some really fun ideas to play with the queue line. Say like there's like a lion or something from the human circus that just every room you're seeing it walk by and it's just bigger and bigger and bigger and you're like, what the hell is going on? Until we have like the bug's equivalent of a lion and it's just like an ant that's walking by that's human size and you're like, oh my god.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
I think it would also be cool for the ride, like maybe someone spilled some soda and that affects things, or like some popcorn or a ticket.
Could the river be spilled soda pop? And that we're riding down, since we're not in a house anymore, it wouldn't maybe make sense to have like a hose there, but like some sort of spilled drink is what we're riding down, and maybe like their version of a tent is like one of those like red and white striped discarded like popcorn bags that we keep seeing
like
get larger and larger
or whatever.
Yeah.
That
would be cool.
in the film, PT Flea's like little circus cart that he rolls around it with is an old box of animal crackers that has the red and white stripes. So I think that's kind of perfect fitting like one of those popcorn buckets that he like cut a hole in, and that's the tent. The one thing I would say is with the spilled drink, would it, this might be a stupid question, but like I feel like I would be on the ride like, man, that cup was really full. When's it gonna
Brock, you're the size of an ant.
Like I said, it might be a stupid question.
I think this build. I don't think it's a stupid question. I think you can confine the general experience of the floating part of the ride and viewing out into the circus within the scope of an ant and a spilled drink. Because if you're looking off into the distance or whatever distance it is and seeing circus things go on and not have the whole circus happening around you to give the sense of like, wow, this really did happen all in like a spilled drink, that's a lot. I think that could work. Certainly some effects need to happen on top of you. And I love the idea of the incorporated into a human circus, because I'm seeing stuff like discarded peanut shells falling from like the ceiling, and then that's causing like further drops, right? Like, oh, we got to get out of the peanut shell.
I have a question, actually. If it's at a circus, what if the ride vehicle, instead of being a leaf, is like half a peanut shell?
Ooh, yeah.
That'd be cool.
Like hollow half of peanut shell?
I think that's great.
And the other thing, just the follow-up on the drink thing is, I think it's a really cool idea, but what if there were like, it happened, like there was a drink and there was also this other thing, and so the river wasn't just the one beverage, it was a couple different things that all spilled together.
Yeah, I agree, because as you were talking about the like drink maybe not being enough, I was like, what if at one point leading to one of the bigger drops is like it gets hosed off? Like that area that we're riding in gets sprayed off, and oh no, now we're shooting fast.
Yeah. And I think any modern log flume that's being built now has to be sort of what Brock was talking about with his pitch, is it has to be incorporating multiple different style of ride elements. Like there's extra thrills other than just like a dark ride and a drop. And I think incorporating the hose spraying off is an excellent way of doing that. And then the climactic thing with the grasshoppers is its own sort of entity. Tell me if this is too ambitious. I don't know what technology exists today, but like, say part of the ending of the ride is us running into something like a shoe or anything that can be worked out later, and then like we bonk, and like there's been like a small section of running away from the grasshoppers. And then that, like, they lift us literally kind of up, like on an elevator. And then, so it's not like that kind of 30-degree angle up, right? With the click, 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 click. We're obviously about to go on like a drop kind of thing. And it's like its own little elevator that brings up, like latches onto a different part of the track and then drops us as we're saved. Is that like way out there, or is that something
I think that's actually possible. I don't know. I don't understand the log flume ride system well enough, but as far as I know, that should be possible. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
I'm going to say that I don't know what the exact technology for it would be is, but I think we could, with development time, simulate something similar to that at least.
Yeah.
Whereas even if it's not completely just up, just the log, something where things are lifted a certain way and takes you almost to maybe like a secondary flume track is kind of how I would imagine that working, is like that water that we just went through would be done in this lift would take us to a secondary track almost.
Yeah, that would be the idea, and that's where the drop would happen, is on that secondary track.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, and that's certainly something you could do. It could be, and that could happen possibly, more than once. It's a circus, so you could do it with a balloon, or the grasshoppers grab you and do something like that. And I think that gives you a lot of different ways to play with it. And I agree that, especially at the scale we're looking at, that upward click, click, click 30-degree angle doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I think finding those creative ways to just go straight up, like you said, that's I think an amazing idea. That would really set this ride apart.
Yeah, I would. That would be awesome.
There is an actual boat elevator on the Great Loop, which my dad and mom will be going on. when
That's
they do their Great
true.
Loop trip. So I was trying to Google where it's at and try to like send you a picture of it. But if they can actually do a boat elevator for boats, you know, like 40-foot boats,
Yeah.
I can't imagine why it wouldn't be possible for a log flume.
Yeah. So I think that becomes an important element of this ride, is that is the conceit. Anytime we're moving up, either after a drop to get us back to level or to lead into big drops, that is the conceit, the technological conceit behind how we get there, which is what elevates this above other rides, right?
Yes.
All right.
That's why we go on the Bugs Life ride as opposed to other things.
So I think this ride is really cool. So we're going through the circus. It's PT Fleas doing these incredible displays of bug acrobatics and fun circus acts, and we get to see all the characters from the circus characters from the movie. You mentioned the grasshoppers. So at what point? So I guess what is their role to you in your idea?
So one of the things that I really like, particularly about the idea of the spray down with the hose, is that sends us off of the track of the intended guide path. So I'm thinking about the first 2/3 of the ride are going down. There's obviously like some minor environmental hazards that we're encountering that cause us to either like swoop left and right or go down some extra stuff to do things. But then you can kind of hear from a distance like large footsteps, be like, oh, what's this? And it blows us off track. And there can be little tidbits or something, little breadcrumbs along the way that PT Flea has said that this is like, that they've done like grasshopper proofing, so you don't have to worry about going along this track. But once we're blown off, he'd be like, oh no, we're out of the grasshopper proofing zone, or something like that. Or they're coming, they've spotted us from like our hidden vantage point. And then the last third-ish, maybe less, maybe fourth, they're chasing us, and you can kind of hear them getting closer and closer and closer, and then we bonk up against whatever this is, rock, trash can, somebody's foot, doesn't matter, and then they catch up to us because they're grasshoppers and they're evil in this universe for some reason. Well, here's an idea that could intensify things, as well as maybe do a little extra story. Like, say, like part of this thing is the grasshoppers have been brought into the fold with the bugs in the circus, and they're lifting us up and stuff, and we're running away from like hornets or wasps or something. And those are the things that catch up to us.
I think that's fun because at the end of the movie, you know, they're the bad guys and they all get scared away. But it would be fun to later on see like, oh, we're all friends now. We've all learned to live together. What I would say is I think it'd be neat, instead of like if whoever the bugs are, the bad bugs that we end up in their turf or whatever, whoever they are, instead of being like evil, oh, we're villains, what if they're just kind of like messing with you, like they're bullies, like, oh, what do we got here? Ha, let's move them, let's fly them up and drop them into this puddle over here. Ha, hey, I'm a bug.
They're like a rival gang. Da-da,
Yeah.
da-da.
I think that's great, honestly, because like I think when you're thinking about a log flume, I don't think you're thinking of anything like wicked intense, like this people are going to try and eat you. So I think the more like cartoony bullying thing, I think works really well.
Yeah.
And so I think introducing a new bug type, like a wasp or a hornet,
I think
or something.
wasps and hornets are perfect for that.
And we can add that effect to the seats of the ride vehicle where they sting you in the butt.
We'll just have
this is
some
just like
needles that actually come up through the seat.
And then we release real hornets out of the front of the ride vehicle.
Perfect.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And I really like the idea of incorporating the grasshoppers in a less antagonistic way, too. I think that's very cool. What else do we need?
I think we should probably refine the drop a little bit. I know you said we fall through the parachute or
that doesn't. So one of the things that could be incorporated with what Brock's talking about is we are being dropped into a different puddle.
Yeah.
I think that works. That actually is much cleaner.
Okay, yeah. I like that.
And that gives us the reason to splash too, outside of like the attempt to save our lives failed.
Also, can we maybe try to incorporate Flick flying that giant bird to scare away the wasps? Because that thing I think would be super cool to see as a giant action set piece.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something that could be like set up as like, and then like PT Flea is kind of like hinting at our grand finale, and you like kind of see it in the background, and he's like, no, cover that up, and like you see them like throwing curtains over. So at the beginning they set up, here's that bird, they're going to do something cool with it, and then they come in to rescue us with it later.
Almost like
Yeah.
at the end of the Jurassic Park ride, like the T-Rex that came out, I'm just picturing a giant bird Flick swinging out and scaring away the bees would be a
just,
super
over
cool,
your
like,
head.
oh, hey, look at that. Ah! Like, drop.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, that would be
And that
neat.
gives us a little moment. So, like, the elevator takes us up, and then we're on a little bit more of a Flume style thing. We can try and hide the water or whatever, so it doesn't like look like water. But that gives us room for that set piece to happen while they're taking us to where we're going. And we see them swoop in and save the day, and then knock them off course, and then we fall down into the. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I was
really like
thinking
that idea.
maybe the wasps drop us. They like take us to like this like stream that's a hose water or something where they know we're going to drop. We do the big drop, and then that's when we're rescued. It would be after the drop where they scare off the bad guys, because it feels like, hey, we're rescuing you. Oh no, you're falling.
Yeah, I don't know which of the two is cleaner.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know.
I think you can have like a PT Flea afterwards being like, oh, well, we knew you'd fall in the puddle. Like, well, we knew you'd be
Yeah,
fine.
but he's like sweating
Yeah,
or whatever.
like-
Yeah.
Like him and
'Cause he's kind
him and
of
Flick
like
are
a-
obviously like, we knew you'd be okay.
Because Flick's kind of still a screw up at his core, and PT Flea just kind of seems sleazy
Yeah.
to the point where he'd feel
Like-
a little okay gambling our lives away.
Yeah, that was definitely the plan all along.
So here's a cool idea that we could add onto that. So you just know Heimlich?
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah,
Heimlich,
caterpillar?
The beautiful butterfly.
Yeah, like, so Flick and PT are having their conversation, right? Being like, yeah, we totally knew that wouldn't happen. And he comes and he's like, no, you didn't. and have like one of those cute little moments for the kids, right?
Yeah.
I think as that last little beat, I think would be really fun.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So let's walk through and then the exit queue would be into obviously gift shop. Jake, don't even worry about that.
Just making sure.
We're going to deal that sweet merch, Jake.
So where do you guys see this ride? Like, where do you like? I don't necessarily have like a land or park in mind for it. Obviously, there's some Animal Kingdom tie-ins with the bug part of it. There have been plenty of places that they've put other shitty Bugs Life attractions that have nothing to do with it. Where do you guys see it?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking,
will-
because initially my thought was Animal Kingdom because of the bugs, but like the setup that we're describing, I feel like might not perfectly fit there, and it's not as clean as just replace it, because the theater that it's tough to be a bug in, I think, is right in the tree.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of space in that area that you could take out to do it, like including the theater, but that it wouldn't be a replacement. It would be a demolition into something new.
Yeah, that'd be pretty
Right.
much impossible to do now because the park is built around that tree.
Icon of the park, which is weird that that's like part of the icon of the park is it's
Yeah.
tough to be a bug. But I feel like there's probably an area somewhere in Animal
have
Kingdom where we can make that work.
I was thinking either Animal Kingdom or DCA.
Oh, actually, it could work near Pixar Pier in DCA.
Right. That's what I was kind
Yeah.
of thinking.
But my out there pitch was the Dumbo ride. currently exists with those buildings that are the large circus tent style buildings. It looks like two, and that's you go inside, that's where the queue is, all that sort of thing. What we could do is add a third one near there that houses the Bugs Life ride, so it's kind of fitting that aesthetic. It feels like it's part of the other circus tents. It's all connected.
The Storybook Circus type area that they have. Yeah, that could work too.
And heck, it could be the same circus. It could be the hypothetical Storybook Circus. But just,
especially now that we've fixed Dinoland and we need somewhere else to be our own little private circus section. Yeah, I think, but honestly, Dinoland agnostic, I think that's a great idea. And so that would put us, in Fantasyland?
That's
if you go with Dumbo, Dumbo's in Fantasyland.
Yeah. If we're going with this kind of ambitious idea, we could actually combine maybe the exits to Dumbo and A Bug's Life into its own Fantasyland store thing.
Yeah, because there's a big gift shop in one of those circus tents. You could just exit into that somehow.
Yeah. And then give the gift shop a little retheming to circus stuff. Yeah. And then make that whole area just the Fantasyland Circus. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I mean, the whole section I think is called Storybook Circus right now, so it would totally fit with the theming of it.
It's like a subsection of Fantasyland for the more circus themed.
Oh, so
it's kind of like where Toontown was.
So we could make the circus that the big circus Dumbo Circus, right? That could be the human-sized thing, and then we're oh no, there's this other way that we're becoming small.
I mean, honestly, we just put two circuses in the same place, and it's going to look like it's the same circus. Yeah. We don't even have to address it, but it's just a really cool.
Exactly.
People will be like, "Hey, you want to go to those rides in the circus part?"
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I think that's super cool. So let's walk through what we have. We have a circus themed area. That's our ride queue. The entrance to the ride. The ride queue is moving down and everything's getting bigger. We have some sort of representation of that. I kind of like the lion into a bug size kind of thing. That people are having jump through hoops, and by the time we get to the bottom of the line, it's a little roly-poly jumping through a hoop that's the same size as a lion or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
And then we're riding in a discarded circus thing, like a peanut shell. Mm-hmm. Taking a tour through P.T. Flea's circus, riding on a series of spilled drinks that they've kind of turned into a path.
Yeah.
Above us, we see acrobatics using really cool animatronic things. The circus story is being told. And then we are blown off of the path by a water burst, where we are picked up by sort of Jets versus Sharks bully hornets. Lifted up an elevator, not a traditional chain lift, up an elevator, where we then have Flick riding a bird, which has been introduced as part of the circus section, to save the day, knocking us off of the hornets, landing in a puddle. Flick and PT are this totally happened the way we planned it to, and Heimlich's you guys are idiots. And then we exit into the circus thing. I think this is super cool.
I really love this.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see in the world where this is actually happening. I'm excited to see a better Bugs Life representation than what we had in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We still have it, Jake. You cannot will the death of Bugs Life. It's tough to be a bug in your life.
I was thinking about the stuff at DCA that got removed.
Oh, yeah, Heimlich's choo-choo train or whatever.
Yeah. And the hopping things or whatever they were.
Yeah, I think it's great. Thank you guys so much for helping me flesh this out.
Yes.
I had a ton of fun doing it.
Yeah, I think it really turned into something really cool. That was an awesome idea, Eric, and not at all what I pictured A Bug's Life when I just saw the title of that as your pitch. I was whoa, that's not what I was expecting at all, but I think it turned into something really fun, and I love when that happens.
Yeah, me too. And I love the incorporation of the full circus land. I think that and the elevator makes this something that I am particularly sad that we'll never see happen in real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, where else are we going to find an elevator?
All right, gang. I think that means we're ready for something. I think it's
The
time.
lightning
The
round.
lightning round.
Kapow.
It's the lightning round.
All right, let us spin the wheel of lightning. Today, we are doing a re-theme of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. We need to make it fit Toy Story. Don't all jump at once.
Don't worry, guys. I'll go first here, I'm sure. That's what the randomizer will decide.
Actually, it's going to be Jake this time.
Oh, it
Oh,
is.
good.
I'm going to go for the low-hanging fruit here, and Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, the car is now going to be RC. That's right, it's going to be the end of Toy Story 1 as we frantically drive through the streets trying to catch up with the moving van and try to avoid traffic. We're going to have to swerve all over the place, and the different rooms will become different areas of the neighborhood as we try to catch up to the moving van and to Andy's mom's minivan, because we don't want to be lost toys anymore. That is my pitch. That is 30 seconds. Bam.
Okay.
All right. Who's next?
Nicely done. It's me. So we're going a little dark this time. We are going to be escaping Sid's House of Horrors with all of the weird creations that Sid has been making, like that weird doll on the spider legs and stuff like that. We are going to be on an awkwardly slow-moving vehicle as we attempt to escape Sid's house and eventually break through to the light of day. But then, as the fire section from Mr. Toad, it's going to be like Sid holding a lighter above us. That's my 30 seconds.
Nice. Nice.
Brock.
All right, so we are going to be following the heroes as they try to escape from Sunnyside Daycare in Toy Story 3. So we're going to be probably on RC again as a ride vehicle. Sorry to steal that. But I was thinking Mr. Toad's Wild Ride has that section where you go to hell, and that perfectly corresponds to the section in Toy Story 3 where the toys are about to be incinerated. So we follow through.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, and then we go into an incinerator.
You
That's my
dumb
pitch.
bitch. I hate you. I hope you die. Why are you so mean to everybody in this podcast, Brock? You're a monster.
Tanner, I would just like to welcome you to going last.
That's
true.
fine. I
He would
totally
never
have
know.
another pitch in mind. Okay, so for my pitch, we're going to be looking at the climax of Toy Story 2, where instead of driving on RC, because that feels a little derivative, our toys will be navigating the luggage belts as they try to fight off the weird pickaxe man that I can't remember his name right now, the prospector.
Stinky
but yeah,
Pete.
so that's going to be my ride. Boom. Fuck you guys. I'm out.
That's great. I love that,
Stinky
actually.
Pete, voiced by Kelsey Grammer. I really liked that we each focused on a very different aspect of the trilogy. And yes, I say trilogy because I
Yeah.
don't acknowledge Toy Story 4. I was not a fan of that movie.
I like Forky.
My difficulty here is I've never been on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I don't know
Yeah,
much
exactly.
about
I don't
it.
know anything else. I just knew about hell, which made me think of the incinerator too.
Same.
Yeah.
But my whole ride was going to be the incinerator.
Yeah, the problem with RC as a vehicle to replace Mr. Toad is Mr. Toad goes really slow.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
obviously, I would speed it up.
Yeah, which would be insanely disorienting considering how many times that ride curves and
Yeah.
but yeah, it moves probably like 5 miles an hour.
So it's Mr. Toad's wildly slow ride.
Yeah,
Mr.
Wild Ride
Toad's
is not a
gentle
good-
ride to hell.
Yeah, where it gets wild is where he goes to hell. That's the part that's wild about it, which is really dark. It's
Yeah.
as dark as you
Especially because that's
imagine.
not in the movie. So
Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
all right.
Good lightning round, guys. Why are we were so worried going in episode 1 that lightning rounds were going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And we'd have to scrap the whole idea, and they're consistently really good.
Yeah.
Or really fun, at least.
They're consistently fun. Yes.
Yeah.
And don't forget to vote on our Twitter polls for which lightning round attraction you'd like to see us come back to at a later date.
Well, we're on this log flume, guys. Well, they gave you that nice Ziploc bag, Jake. You better stick the Facebook in there.
Do you mean facebook.com/Main Street Musings?
Oh, Tanner, watch out. Our Instagram's gonna get all wet.
Oh no, main_street_musings is soaking now.
Eric, you weren't looking. You dropped the Twitter right in the water.
At MSM_podcast, wet just the way we like it.
And I'm Brock.
Brock, aren't you supposed to say something?
Oh yeah, everyone make sure to rate, review, and give us 5 stars.
There you go.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, all right, that's the thing.
All right.
That was our
Thanks for
episode,
listening,
guys.
everybody.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Sorry Brock sucks sometimes.
Why?
Why do you suck? We don't know. You were just born this way, I guess. And I would know.
He's real mad about his pizzas, guys. It's not anything to do with you. He's just upset about pizza right now.